My conviction is that we have to see new forms of church, new forms of mission, new forms of prayer. We have to see young people released into their identity in God.
Some of these emerging forms of church, mission and prayer have deep roots in movements of the past.
On the one hand is a redigging of old wells, of the spiritual revivals and renewal movements we've had in the past, that somehow God is saying, I want to see that released again. And on the other hand, digging new wells, all kinds of new expressions of church that we have not seen in the past, that are simply new and fresh and for this time, in this culture.
I love the way the message describes the fact that Jesus was the Word made flesh who moved into the neighbourhood. And this element of being incarnational, of going and being amongst people, I think is a massive challenge for us as the church.
It's going to take young people actually starting to live what they say they believe for Christianity to take root in Europe again.
An international prayer movement called 24/7 is inspiring Christians around the world with a passion to pray. Like the 18th century Moravians, whose non-stop prayers for more than 100 years had an impact to the ends of the earth, these young people are committed to a lifestyle of Christ-centred, mission-minded prayer. One of the founders and catalysts of the 24/7 prayer movement is Pete Gregg.
We started out with prayer rooms in one little place in the south of England, and we had no intention of that growing beyond that one church, but it just kind of exploded.
24/7 prayer is for any age, but has struck a chord with Christian young people.
You're in God's presence, and so you want to love the world around you, and you want to love the people around you, and you start to see things through His eyes and through His heart. The obvious next step is, well, you've got to go out and you've got to tell people.
As we have journeyed with God, He has really spoken to us about turning the prayer into mission. So I would say that we have moved from being a prayer movement to being much more a mission and justice movement that has realized that the heartbeat, the center, the lifeblood must be prayer.
From ancient times, the tides have marked the pattern of life on Lindisfarne, also known as Holy Island. A narrow strip of land connects this little island to the mainland. During high tide, it's inaccessible. From this isolated place off the northeast coast of England, Celtic Christian monks spread the gospel to the English-speaking peoples and beyond. Ray Simpson has lived on Holy Island for many years and has written a number of books that express the beliefs and lifestyle of the Celtic Christians.
They were just following a deep impulse to leave all their home comforts behind and live for God alone and be led by the Spirit. And throughout Europe, faith communities were established which had an informality, a love, a purity, a wholeheartedness about them, which seemed to win the hearts of many people throughout Europe.
Celtic Christians also had a deep understanding of the balance between mission and prayer.
I think that we're really struggling in the Western world with the ability to weigh the two extremes, as people would talk about, of spirituality, either the work of the kingdom to go and win the lost, or the mystical, withdraw into God and become really intimate with Him, bridal intercession, the secret place. Well, the Celts got both together, and I think that this is what we need.
Karen Lowe is a leader of Antioch Church in Llanelli, South Wales. She finds great encouragement and hope in the rich history of the Welsh revivals.
Right back into the early roots of Christianity in Wales through the Celtic Church. There's a tremendous history of revival and a tremendous history of deep, deep wells of revival here.
Llanelli is located a few miles from a major site of the famous 1904 Welsh revival, which led to the modern-day Pentecostal movement.
But I believe that this next revival will look very, very different from 1904. We don't have chapels full of people, but we do have communities that are hungry for reality. I also have a real passion to see national transformation in Wales and to see Wales again become an apostolic nation for the nations.
Drawing from these deep wells of the past, new forms of church are emerging, fueling greater hope for the future.
I actually think that some of the things that God has been trying to sort out here for generations may at last happen, and we might say goodbye to forms of the church that are one of the chief reasons why people are not followers of Christ today.
I believe today, if we're really going to see the gospel take root in the unreached people groups across our continent today, it's not going to be about saying to people, come to my church building. It's going to be about the people of God getting out there to wherever the people are and expressing the kingdom of God.
A vast and powerful wave of God's Spirit is needed to usher in a new day of the kingdom of God in Europe. After 1500 years of church history, the way forward will neither be quick nor easy.
I think that the challenge of the re-evangelization of Europe is one of the most significant challenges in the earth at the moment, because the consequences of what went wrong here, I think, will be seen and are already beginning to be seen throughout Western culture.
A call to mission and prayer for Europe resounds to the church around the world.
I want people to pray for Europe because God is doing something marvellous here. Not to give up on us, not to be despairing because we lost the first fruits of the gospel, but to know that the full harvest will be richer than it's ever been.
It's time to give back to Europe what it so sacrificially gave out to the nations. And it's time to invest lives, money, time and everything back into Europe and believe God for revival.